Welcome back. We're talking with Todd Bensman about the crisis at our border, and that term is used often, and it sounds hyperbolic, but if you thought it was bad before, what Todd is now forecasting in terms of what happens once this so-called Title 42 provision is waived, essentially for everybody trying to get into this country, we're going to see uh, an epic invasion on a scale unprecedented in our history. Todd, talk a little bit about, based on your experience, not just at the Center for Immigration Studies, but also your previous lives as a world class investigative reporter and as a national security intelligence analyst for the Department of Public Safety in Texas. What does this actually mean in terms of people who are coming here to do us harm? Not the economic migrants, but people who are coming from places that are hostile to our country and who have an agenda that may be to further that hostility at the expense of Americans, perhaps mortally harming them. And through what kinds of techniques is that being done?
Well, of course, we have migrants in this particular emergency or invasion. We have migrants coming from all over the Middle East, South Asia. Afghan immigrants are crossing all the time now. We have people coming from Somalia and Mauritania and all of those countries of terrorism concern. And when you have a border breakdown like this, where all systems are collapsed, those people are coming through as well. And we're unable to screen them as well and know who they are as well and be able to deport them. I want to give you just one demonstrative example. It happened in December where lots of Venezuelans crossing right now, Lebanese born Venezuela swam the Rio Grande and Brownsville, and he flagged on the FBI's terrorism watch list. Now, typically when that happens, the FBI goes down there. I write in America's Covert Border War, and we interrogate and do try to collect intelligence. And they did that with this, and they declared that he was a high risk with substantial derogatory intelligence as a Category 5 group member, probably Hezbollah, but it didn't say that, and a flight risk. And ICE headquarters intervened and ordered him released because he was overweight and they needed to clear the detention centers for COVID. That guy is running around in the Detroit area pursuing asylum, of all things. So that's the kind of thing that happens when you have a border crisis. You have just, and nobody noticed it, nobody knew. Somebody got so mad in the federal government that they leaked the documents, which I have. So that's how we even know about that case. But I suspect that there are a lot more like that. We've had we've had Saudis cross who are on the FBI terror watch list. We have Yemenis who've crossed in California. The Mexicans caught a Yemeni on the FBI terror watch list and let him go because they're overwhelmed too and they needed detention space. So he's running around. We don't know where he is. And that's not even talking about MS-13 gang members and cartel people and all the rest.
So these are people who are not just involved in human smuggling or drug smuggling. They could be involved in smuggling weapons and perhaps even weapons of mass destruction in furtherance of their uh, harmful agenda, whether it's jihadism or whether it's motivated by some other animus towards this country. And Todd Bensman, in the course of your career, you've seen the toll taken by these folks, whether it's fentanyl, perhaps, whether it's the petty criminal activity or the possibility of mass destruction as well. Um, this administration seems indifferent to this problem. Is that overstating it, or am I missing something?
I think that the Biden administration is privately very concerned about this because of the midterm elections. They are polling as badly as anybody can poll on an issue. This is their worst issue. It's going to drag everything down. The mainline Democratic Party leadership is worried about this, but publicly they won't say much about it because they don't want to draw attention to it. They much prefer to be talking about Ukraine and the Russia conflict. Honestly, I think that's a tail wagging the dog kind of a scenario there. I really believe that. But this is something that they recognize. I believe they recognize as a threat in 2022 and especially in 2024 if they can't get a handle on it. And they are doing some things, Frank. They are doing some things that have so angered their progressive left wing that they've had a walkout of three or four key progressive liberal immigration advisors, which I
Wow.
find hopeful.
Yeah. I hope they'll all go. But the question, I guess, Todd, that answer prompts is they're concerned, all right, but they're not necessarily concerned about the national security or homeland security of the
Yeah,
country. They're concerned about their political
yeah, it's for all the
repercussions
it's for all the wrong
down
reasons.
ballot, among others. So, Todd, among the things that is happening as a result of all of this, the immense boosting of criminal activity, particularly among the cartels on the other side of the border. And increasingly, I think there's evidence, as you know better than anybody, of it happening on our side of the border as well, is the upgunning, if you will, of these cartels to the point where they're now taking on the military of Mexico directly in huge firefights. I think Nuevo Laredo was a spectacular one just last week or so. Talk a little bit about that, and what are we going to have to do lest that spill over in a very, very dangerous way, on top of the problem we've just been talking about.
Well, the Mexican cartels, as we know, your viewers should know, control the border. They control what gets in, vast, long swaths of that border. Nobody crosses in without their permission and say so, and you got to pay them in huge swaths of the border. And they're very powerful, and they've gotten incredibly rich off of this, millions of migrants coming through, incredibly wealthy and powerful. And that goes in line with the Obrador administration's stance toward the cartels, which is hands off from the very beginning of the Obrador. Yeah, right. Obrador has been like, let them be, let them operate. We're not in a war with them. And I think that that is not doing us any good. There was an operation last week where it was an FBI led operation with the Mexican military and intelligence services that actually apprehended the CDN cartel's leader and got him back over the border to our side, which is the first time I've seen anything like this in all the years of Obrador. That just doesn't happen. I'm not sure why that happened. The gun battles that we saw in Nuevo Laredo were an attempt by his followers to slow down his. They knew he had been captured to slow down his extradition. But the point is that that is a rare operation. We need to see a lot more of that type of operation. I don't know why they did it then,
Yeah.
but it probably had something to do with. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's a hopeful sign, and it is in contrast with another operation, and we don't have time to talk about it today, but I hope we'll catch you back on soon to discuss the ant operation that the Mexican government is running, that apparently is actually helping get people into this country rather than defend that border. Todd Bensman, your work is indispensable. I commend you for America's Covert Border War. I think I misspoke earlier. It's America's Covert Border War. Terrific book. I hope people will check it out, as well as your cumulative work at the Center for Immigration Studies. That's CIS.org. Keep it up, my friend. Come back to us soon if you would. Next up, we're going to speak with one of our country's preeminent experts on Iran.